You can start with "Hey guys."
Hey guys. That's how we start.
That's how every YouTube. We're gonna start this like how every YouTube.
Okay. Wait 5 seconds.
Yeah, every YouTube video starts the same way. Hey guys. Hey guys. Today we're gonna show you. Are we gonna show them anything?
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Oh, look at you.
Look at my new guitar, man. Look at my new guitar.
That is an EVH Wolfgang Special made in Mexico, and it has been striped, which I think they sell that way.
Mm-hmm.
People pay a lot of money for that.
How you guys doing? I got 3 of us on here, so
yay.
Go ahead and type in who you guys are. Let us know who's on watching us. I appreciate you guys being here with us. I got my buddy NeanderPaul with me today from KSLX Classic Rock 100.7. You have to use that voice when you're. That was my radio voice.
Okay.
Think I could get a job?
No, nobody talks like that anymore.
KSLX.
It's funny. I used to work for the sister station. What used to be the sister station of the station in Boston was WZLX, and they were owned by the same company at one point.
WZLX.
WZLX and
Boston,
KSLX.
Massachusetts.
They were owned by Eskimos. True story.
But now he's at KSLX in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, sorry. Somebody went to Tucson, sold a guitar.
Robert, how you doing?
He went to Tucson, sold a guitar.
Good for you, man. Which one was it? I saw you playing. I saw you on Facebook yesterday playing that new Randall amp. I got another one down here. Or I got a cabinet. I got a Randall.
No, you
cabinet.
have a Randall head somewhere too. I saw. It's over there. It's 150 watt
That's
head.
right.
And you
got
do have
the
a
matching cab.
Yeah, I have the matching cab over here too.
Hey guys, so if you got questions for NeanderPaul, you got any of these radio classic rock questions about any of these rock and roll bands that we all grew up with and we all love, give us some questions. If you got any questions about guitars, I will do my best to answer them. But with my buddy NeanderPaul here from KSLX, he knows a lot about guitars. Whatever we can answer. If you got any questions, let's do this stuff.
It's funny. I know a lot about guitars, but I don't know how to play very well.
Yeah, I know. I sort of have that same.
I don't play very well, but I can tell you about them left and right. I collect them, and I can tell you the history of them, and I can give you.
What are some of your? What do you have in your collection?
My favorite guitars are Ernie Ball Music Mans. I have Ernie Ball Music Man. As you can tell, this is the second week I've been here, and the second week you've had a striped up Van Halen guitar. I'm a huge Van Halen fan, so I have a couple of those. I love Les Pauls. I'm a big Les Paul guy. I will tell you, as a rule of thumb, the only 2 guitars you really need to get all of the tones that you want out of a guitar are a Les Paul and a Fender Stratocaster. But that having been said, Leo's last version of the Stratocaster, the GNL Legacy, is the best Stratocaster I've ever played. I have an American Legacy that's awesome. And the old ESPs were pretty good too. The old ESPs.
I got this thing the other day.
That's Ernie Ball sub. Ernie Ball sub basses. All those Ernie Ball, like the budget lines that they have, because Ernie Ball hand makes their guitars. They're all handmade in San Luis Obispo in their factory there. So they don't pump out a lot of them every year. So they've farmed out Asian manufacturing under the Sterling brand, and their Sterling stuff is pretty good.
Look at that 6-bolt neck plate.
Yeah, the Sterling stuff is pretty good. All the Ernie Ball's quality control is really good. So you can't go wrong buying one of those. Those are good guitars. Everything they do is good. Everything Ernie Ball does is good.
How about those nice black strings on there, huh?
All my strings end up black anyway because I have oily hands. So I end up shitty and black. Give us some questions, guys. What's up? What else is up, Robert? So we had
Gerald, how are you?
I'm trying to get Dane to do something here today. You know, we sit here in his shop at ZIMM'S Guitars here in Mesa, Arizona, USA, and it's interesting because it's a used store. You know, it's all used equipment, and he ends up coming across some of the more interesting guitars from days past that you probably won't find elsewhere. I'm trying to get him to do a Flying V Friday because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think he's got 6 of them in the shop right now. He's going to grab. He's got a Dave Mustaine signature series. That's the King V, I think, is what Mustaine. I think they called it King V, which was sort of a base off of. I think Kerry King had a King V. I think that's what the original one was. But the Dave Mustaine one, you can see the body is sort of beveled. So it's sort of a V upon a V.
This little thing. Right
there's a little bevel in there. The way Dean makes them. It's just a string through. And Dean quality control has changed a lot over the years. They used to be hit and miss, but now they're fairly hit on everything that they do. I had one of my favorite guitars that I let go that I regret letting go was a Dean Cadillac Select that I really, really liked. And for some strange reason, I think it was just because I didn't want a guitar that looked like a Les Paul. I wanted Les Pauls. So I ended up selling it to a guy in Florida, and I sort of regret it. But the Dean Dave Mustaine V is one version of the V, and it can be had here for a decent price. I'm not going to tell you the prices on the air, but
yeah, that's all right.
But it's pretty good. And then there's the other side of that, which is the kick-ass 2007 Gibson Flying V, that's the one right there. Originally released in 1958. They didn't sell worth a shit. True story. 1958. The V and the Explorer failed for Gibson. And then back in the mid-70s, they brought it back as the 1976 reissue. And it's been in the lineup ever since. And that needs new strings. Those strings are dead.
It does. I just bought this.
Those strings, he just bought this one. And it's nice. You know, if you want a Flying V, that's the way to go. But the shape can be had. I mean, it's a kick-ass shape. They're kind of a bitch to play on your lap. You can't really put them on your lap.
Yeah, you got to do the you got to do the Michael Schenker thing.
Yeah, the between the leg Michael Schenker deal. This one's not in tune. Boy, that sounds like shit. Those strings really need to be replaced, and that fretboard needs to be cleaned.
Oh my God!
I'm just saying. You've got a fine instrument. You got a beautiful Gibson Flying V.
It's still on that police hold.
Yeah.
I'll clean it up.
But it's got to be cleaned up. And when it's cleaned up, it's a beautiful guitar.
I don't rush into anything. You know what I'm saying? I get a guitar. I play it for a while. I'm at liberties to actually buy a guitar, own it for a while. Guitars don't go down in value. I don't have to rush to sell this thing to try to get my money back.
Not a Gibson, no.
I'll play this thing for a while. I'll own this baby for a while.
That's the beauty of owning a guitar store. Like, if you've ever wondered to yourself, well, what would it be like to own a Porsche store? You drive Porsches all the time.
I know, but you hit a pothole. There's things you can do to really bring down the value of an automobile. This, and if you don't scratch it, even if you accidentally scratch it a little, it's still gonna hold its value.
Gibson's actually the only problem with the Gibson, as we've talked about before. Headstock angle. If it falls off a stand, a headstock cracks, you're screwed. So you just try not to do that.
Okay, Robert's got a question there. What's this question right here? Paul, can you read that?
I first run 95 Korean Blackjack, Washburn Blackjack. I mean, Korean guitars, I'm guessing it originally retailed for like $500, if that. I don't know.
And then what's up from Tim and Braden? How you guys doing? Is that Braden? Yeah, it is.
I would say, any sort of, if it's a decent Korean guitar, depending on who made it, Washburn, some Washburns were made by my favorite Korean manufacturers, which is World Music. World Musical Instruments Incorporated, WMIC, makes some of the best, if not the best, Korean guitars. Some of the best Asian-made guitars you can buy. So if it's one of those, Yeah, it's going to be worth $250, $300.
Robert said he only paid $175 for it. Again, what a great hobby to be involved with. Buying, selling, collecting, guitars.
Yeah.
It's a great hobby to have. You can get your money back. Yeah, there's a lot of times you can play a guitar for 10 years, have tons of fun with it, go out and play gigs, and then you get all your money back.
A lot of times you get your money back, or you trade. You know what I mean? Like if you have a couple of mid-level or beginner level guitars, you trade 2 or 3 of them in to somebody else. I mean, it's like anything else, like with baseball cards or anything like that. Okay, so Dane also has other V's here, but he's decided to break away from that.
I want to ask you guys about autographs. So as you can see on this bass, little Ibanez bass, Ibanez Geo.
Whose name is that?
It's got Alice Cooper's autograph on it. Now, being here in Phoenix, Alice signs hundreds of guitars every year. There's a car lot over in West Phoenix that you buy a car, and he'll give you a signed, autographed guitar. What are you guys' thoughts?
I think he owns a piece of that car dealership.
He probably does.
I think he does, yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on autographs? What do you guys think? Are you into them? Does it matter? Would you just clean this off if this was your guitar?
I'll tell you, I had an autographed guitar given to me by the band Days of the New. Remember Days of the New?
Sure.
You know, they were the band that brought back acoustic guitars for a while. Yeah. They autographed a guitar for me years ago, and then like 3 of the guys left the band or something like that. And I remember I didn't have another guitar at the time. I was hard up, so I was like, started playing it, and then I smudged the signatures, and I was like, well, Days of the New aren't going to go on to be Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, so I ended up wiping the names off of it. Sorry, Daz.
So again, what do you guys think about autographs? Come on now. I'm okay with autographs. Tim says I'm okay with autographs only for guitars. What's he say?
Autographs, autographs can drop the value depending on where they're put. If you put an autograph here on the guitar and you're going to be playing it, then it sort of screws up your opportunity.
Goes away.
For example, let's say Dave Mustaine comes into the store. If you're going to play the guitar, have him sign right here. Have him sign it back there.
I've seen some Rob Chapman where he signs back there.
Yeah, you sign back there.
Back of the headstock, huh?
Back of the headstock. Now, that sucks if you want to display the guitar at any point. So you have to decide, are you having it signed so that you can display it as an art piece? Or are you having it signed just because you would like to have a signed guitar from the guy, the artist of the guitar or whoever it is?
You've done tons of interviews with Alice, haven't you?
Yeah.
What's the latest with Alice? What's he up to these days?
So the Hollywood Vampires thing. They've been playing out. Joe Perry has been sick, but Hollywood Vampires are sort of doing their thing. Alice still plays like 200 shows a year. It's ridiculous. He never stops playing. Never stops working. Here's a guy who doesn't have to work anymore, but he does.
Gerald says, I've got a Japanese Aria Pro 2
Les Paul
from the late 70s.
Those are good guitars.
Those are great guitars. Yeah.
A lot of that. It's funny. There's a cult of Japanese guitars now that's become a thing. And Aria Pro 2 have always been decent guitars from Japan. They're cool. Yeah, and don't prefer signature models, but that's real difficult to say now. I mean, Les Paul is technically a signature model. And anybody that plays a Les Paul becomes sort of identifiable with them. Stratocaster, same thing.
Funny little autograph I got right here on a pickguard. Mr. David Lee Roth, 2001. How about that? That's quite the autograph, isn't it?
I have a pith helmet signed by David Lee Roth from 2002. You know what a pith helmet is? It's like the jungle helmet, like the Australian jungle helmet, whatever they call them. I mean, you see them in all the old movies. The British
got horns on each side.
No. It's like looks like an egg and it comes down to the back of your head. It's got like a little knob on the top of it. Yeah, you used to see it in like all the old Tarzan movies. It's whoever the jungle guide was. He would take you with the pith helmet through the jungle. I'm getting rid of this Dave Mustaine guitar.
Autographs are a weird thing. It's okay to autograph a pick guard. You can put them on different strats. You can.
Yeah, that's fine too. That way, when you have them autograph the pick guard. And then when you're done with the guitar, done playing the guitar, you can hang it up with the pick guard on it, and you're good.
Would you consider Dave a guitar player?
David Lee Roth?
Yeah.
He can play. He doesn't, but he can.
What about that Ice Cream Man stuff?
Yeah, he plays acoustic.
Yeah. David
don't
says he
realize
doesn't.
He's actually a better guitar player than he gets credit for. But how the hell are you going to play guitar in a band with Edward Van Halen?
So David says that he does not prefer signature models either. Autographs mean nothing. Signatures mean nothing.
Well, that's cool. Then, he's one of those guys that guitars are for playing.
And then Tim says, signature models are great. They are usually hot-rodded versions of standard guitars.
Sometimes.
Right. Got to show you this again. This is a 1984-85 Kramer Beretta. And if you look at the neck plate here, I did a lot of research. I talked about this last week, but it has a custom order neck plate on the back. And of course, this isn't a Kramer paint job. Somebody's painted this thing, but hey, it looks a lot oranger on here then. All right, so Paul, you got yourself a new guitar, or you just show the guys what you have just gotten.
You're speaking of signature guitars. So this began life as, before I put it out here, began life as a, 2017, I think, Kramer, 1984 reissue. And if you Google them, you can see them. Had like a black and red bullseye. 84. It was called the 84.
The 84.
And I'll show you how you can identify it. And it was based on a very famous guitar from 1984-85, which was actually, truth be told, a Kramer Pacer special body with a non-angled banana headstock on it that eventually became this guitar.
Ta-da!
Which, this is a Kramer 1984. And it's a legitimate, it's a legitimate Kramer that I had painted, done the right way. It's the right color orange. It's not really red. It's Schwinn bicycle paint red, and had done up with the graphics, including the the eye hook and all that stuff. You want to talk about signature guitars? It doesn't get any more signature than this. If you're going to play this, people kind of know who you like to listen to. But I've always wanted one. I had a Pacer Special years ago with the original chicken beak headstock that I sold to a guy in England because I lost my job. So I said,
"You lost your job?"
Yeah. So I said, someday I'm going to get one. And I actually bought the original guitar from Zim with that terrible bullseye paint job on it.
I love that paint job. I'm like, oh, what are you doing?
So I bought it here and immediately, like within days, shipped it off to my buddy Craig up at CHS Custom Guitars in Carmel, New York. And I sent it in February. It took a while because he does this. It's all by hand. He doesn't have people that work for him. He does it in his garage. And I asked him to do a paint job for me. And lest there be any question about trademark infringement and all that shit, it's not for sale. I'm not selling it. Nobody's making money off this guitar. It's my guitar. I bought it already, and I decided to customize it the way I wanted to. So I had it done with this low friction MXR pot, Duncan JB in it, original German Floyd Rose that came with it. That's the original neck that comes with it.
You got the WEM? Where's your WEM?
The bars in the bag in the case. And the cool part is he took the original neck plate and sort of relicked it.
That looks nice.
You know what I mean? So you can still see it's a Kramer.
And I like how he took the back cover off and filled the holes and everything.
Yeah, he filled everything in, and then he put a nice brass block in there. And then here's a cool thing. He swapped out the tuners on the back with Godot's and put in, this is a cool nice little, guess whose guitar this was supposed to be. So that's kind of neat with the signature on the back. So you want to talk about, if you're going to buy a signature guitar, that's a signature guitar. And it's the right color red as opposed to what Fender and a lot of other companies are doing now. That's the color it was in 1985 through 1990.
Marcel Blade says he loves his Ibanez JS2000. So that would be
Joe
Satriani 2000. I did a YouTube video on one of those. A customer of mine brought one in, and video turned out really well. You might be able to look back into my videos and watch that video. They're super fast, slim, great body guitars. I love those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's the next best thing super strat wise to get buying a gem. but the Joe Satriani model is significantly cheaper than a gem.
Electric Angel, how are you doing, man? You were in my store a couple years ago. Thank you so much for that. Tim says, I turned my Mexican Strat into original Franken Strat, the white and black one.
Well, yeah, and when you do that, as you know, you got to cut the pick guard just to cover like that.
This one started out as a squat. And so I sort of basically done the same thing.
Similar, yeah.
My quarter's from 1980. I think I have a 1985 quarter on it.
Not the right year, but.
Nah. But it's fun.
He has a lot of striped up guitars now too.
I know. It's like
he's got
6 months ago I didn't have any. Now I have like 4 of them. I need to, but I'm over it now.
He goes through periods. It's funny. He'll go and he'll buy.
I go through phases.
A specific style of guitar. Like he had an opportunity. He grabbed, going back to the Flying V thing. He grabbed 2 Ibanez. I don't know if they're performers. I forget what the name of the series is, but they're Ibanez Flying Vs that look like the Jackson Randy Rhodes. And as it turns out, I guess Jackson actually filed suit against Ibanez to keep them from making that style guitar because they had a trademark on it.
These babies are coming out of everywhere.
So they had a trademark on it. And so these Ibanez Flying Vs, they're legitimate. They're legitimate Ibanez Flying Vs, but they don't make them anymore. They haven't made them in a long time. And he has 2 of them sitting up on the shelf right now. So that's the cool part about this shop is he's got everything from, that top of the line Gibson Flying V. And
now last Sunday, I got my hands on this bad boy right here.
This is what happens when you own a guitar shop. You end up going out and buying guitars that you don't end up coming into your shop.
This is an ML1 Pro Modern Chapman.
Which is his latest fetish. He's got a hard on for Chapman guitars right now.
So now I have 3 Chapman guitars. And I went up there, and so what I can do is I can take 2 or 3 items that have been here, hanging here in the shop for a while, and if I go trade them in at Guitar Center, most of the time I lose a little bit of money. Sometimes I can pretty much break even, so it's almost like money in the bank. And I take it up there, and I ended up getting this thing, and they gave me 10% off. And this thing is really nice, and that satin, it's just so smooth. The whole thing, everything about it.
The whole neck through is beautiful. No, it's a well-made guitar.
These babies ohm out at like 15 ohms. This one's like 14. Super hot pickups. And my buddy, Mr. Philip McKnight, was in here the other day, and I was all excited. Phil, check this out, man. And I handed it to him, and he's like, "Oh, that's too heavy," and he set it back down.
Oh, that's the other thing. That Kramer that I was just playing, the body on it is maple, so it's heavier than the basswood versions that you see. Question from Tim: EVH versus Kramer versus Charvel.
Here's the deal, man. I was up at Guitar Center. I was buying this, and then I looked up, and there was a popsicle orange creamsicle Charvel hanging on the top, and I'm like, Paul, climb up that ladder and grab that. And he's like, I'm looking.
Yeah, you look at me, you think athletic.
I climbed to the ladder at Guitar Center, and I played that creamsicle Charvel, and I almost changed my mind and put this thing back because I love that crazy kind of orange and pink and glitter and all that.
Fun fact, the EVH Stripe series and the Charvels are made in the same factory in Ensenada, Mexico. They use different parts, but not very different. They're almost the same guitar. The EVH necks are specifically cut and measured to the way Eddie Van Halen wants them made. The Charvels are made like the original Charvel San Dimas or whatever model you're looking for. Fun fact, Charvel necks were on a lot of early Eddie Van Halen guitars. He would buy Boogie Bodies and Lynn Ellsworth necks. To compare a Charvel to an EVH, they're almost the same guitar. I prefer the Charvel. I actually have a couple of Charvel Art Series Van Halen guitars, which were fairly overpriced for what they were. I never pay new prices for a guitar. I always buy them used.
Plus, they had that Telly natural wood Charvel up there.
Charvel,
I might get on a Charvel kick.
To choose between a Charvel and the EVH, I would choose a Charvel. To choose the Charvel versus the old Kramers, the original Kramers, I would still choose the Charvel. I think they're a better guitar overall.
I did have a Charvel San Dimas down here about a year ago, and it was the Construction Zone cone orange, like a fluorescent orange, and it was like a slap in the face. If you come here early in the morning, you don't need a cup of coffee. You just take this guitar and you put it in your face, and it woke you up. But it played great, and I had a good time with that guitar.
To finish, let me finish up with Tim.
Okay,
1 second.
I'm sorry.
Just to finish up with Tim, as far as the best Eddie Van Halen signature guitar, by far, worlds ahead of the rest of them is the Ernie Ball. Ernie Ball is the best. And then outside, I would say the Fender Frankenstrat, the Frankenstrat copy that cost you 25 grand is pretty good, but not 25 grand good. The Ernie Ball Music Man is the best of his signature models, followed probably by the Peavey Wolfgang, and then the Charvel, but these new EVHs are really well done. I have an EVH Stealth Special Wolfgang from Japan from a couple of years ago that is outstanding, as good a guitar as you can ask for. They're beautiful. So they're well-made guitars. You can't go wrong with any of them.
Sorry about our internet connection here. I think it's kind of slow. We were kind of buffering there for a second. But a great question. What happened to the Legs Diamond?
Wow.
What do you know about that band?
I don't know a lot about them. I know I used to play them in the 80s when I was doing college radio. I don't know a ton about them, to be honest with you. They were another one of the many bands that sort of came earlier than bands that came later, but never achieved the level of fame that the other bands that followed them did for whatever reason. That happened to a lot of bands. Bands like UFO got left behind like that too. There was another band called Trash out of like Belgium or some shit like that. They were fantastic. They got overlooked. A lot of the sleaze bands. Let's face it, Motley Crue wouldn't have a career if there weren't a Hanoi Rocks. A lot of bands ripped off Hanoi Rocks. If you look at Faster Pussycat, Jet Boy, Guns N' Roses.
Well, he says
Motley
Legs
Crue.
Diamond was really big in San Antonio in the 80s. So
San Antonio is a metal town. San Antonio has always been a metal town. It's a big, heavy metal town. All those hard rock bands did really well in San Antonio, and it's still a metal town. They had a great radio station, Kiss, in San Antonio. I am in love with the former Midday Girl that was on Kiss in San Antonio. Seriously, seriously, she's awesome.
What was her name? What channel was it?
Hang on, I'm trying to remember. Her last name was Cruz. CJ Cruz.
How you doing, man? Okay.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, CJ Cruz. I'm in love with CJ Cruz.
CJ Cruz.
She's still on the radio in San Antonio, and I'm still in love with her. True story.
How are you doing, sir?
Looking good so far. I'm going to take that Super Slinky that picked on Pink package. Right?
You're not going to take it?
Well, I'll pay for it.
Okay.
I mean, you guys won't let me out in the store from that, right? You're probably shooting it back.
Comes at 547.
547.
I swear to God, I grew up listening to this voice. And
Don't worry about the change.
my name's Ronnie.
Yeah, so guys, we're doing a live stream right now. But thank you so much, sir. Appreciate you.
On the air for years.
And so my open sign is open. We are actually open for business right now. If customers come in the store, we're going to try to help them.
I just got it.
But most of the time on a Friday afternoon, it's kind of a good time to do a live stream because it's usually pretty quiet down here. So, howdy, Paul. Again, my special guest today is NeanderPaul from KSLX, right here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, so
We're having a nice, as far as our weather. Can we talk about weather for a minute?
Really? We're getting to weather?
Yeah,
That's where we're at now?
Hey, I'm doing my radio bit right here, man. Today it is really sunny.
Yeah, unlike the other 330 days of the year that we get sunshine. We get less than 40 days of rain a year.
It's a little hazy out. The wind is blowing, and I'm gonna say it's probably in the mid 80s out today. Hey, we have some other guys. Last week I had a guy from Holland.
What's up, Kramit?
Okay, so here's another thing I want to show you guys. Other than my David Lee Roth autographed pickguard from 2001, some of the new pedals. I always want to show you guys some of the latest things that have come into the store recently.
What's amazing
that I've
with
been able to
pedals,
get my hands on.
the amazing thing with pedals is they never go out of style for whatever reason. For years ago, everybody tried to go to the rack mounts like the 80A MP1s and shit like that with the MIDI pedal boards. And then they tried to go with the self-contained.
It just was not user friendly.
This stuff is always the best. Just get modular pedals.
Who's heard of one of these? A Jangle Box. That is the company. This is a compressor. You guys ever heard of any of this? Oh yeah, he's from Holland. Marcel. Is that your name? I don't read so good. But, hey, that is super cool, man. Alex is on with us. So I bought this from a customer. We did some trades or whatever. He walked out with the Strat, but I ended up getting this, and he said this is Tom Petty in a box. So if you want that jangly compressor, this thing is super cool. I haven't played through it yet.
It gives you a little bit of that Rickenbacker sound without having to pay $2,000 for a Rickenbacker guitar.
Jangle Box.
Yeah, you want that. It's got a nice ring to it.
So that thing is new.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. User not available. That guy from Nirvana caught a hell of a cold. It was a head cold, real bad, real stuffed up.
This is still in the box, but I got this TC Electronics hyper gravity compressor. It's used, but still got the box for it. Oh, wow. Sorry about my internet, guys. Doesn't keep up so good. And so there's that. Brand new TC Electronic compressor.
Alex,
kind of fun.
He doesn't have an EVH Stripe Series in the shop right now. He has had them in the past. He may have one in the future because I might get rid of mine. Although he does have this one, which is not a Stripe Series. It's a Wolfgang Special. Wolfgang Special, which is a step up from the Stripe Series, to be honest with you, because it's got the two pickups. They actually all have the same pickups in them, too. The Stripe Series and the Wolfgang Standards and the Wolfgang Specials and the Wolfgang Americans all have Wolfgang pickups in them. The difference is the wood and the electronics and the hardware around them. But the pickups themselves are all the same.
It's a shame that all the hundreds of great Van Halen songs and the average guy has to go. Right.
Well, they took ownership of it. David, it depends on the pedal board. I have a Digitech RP500, which is an old one. But on that pedal board, it models several different distortion pedals, several different chorus pedals, several different delays, that kind of a deal. If you dial up the right one and you set the parameters properly, I would tell you that only the most trained ear would be able to hear the difference. That having been said, if I had a choice of one multi-effects pedal board like an RP500 or my favorite combination of analog pedals with good cabling connectors in there, I would go that way. The problem is you got to get a good board to mount them on, so that they're steady and stable. And it's going to be cheaper if it dies. Like if the multi-effects pedal dies, you're screwed. The whole unit is screwed. But if you lose one in the chain of your single effects on a pedal board, it's easier to replace and cheaper to replace. I would go single pedals and build your own sound.
Got a brand new Mojo pedal. Good sounding little thing. Look at that. Alex Moser. Any relation to Neil Moser? Any relation?
Moser or Mosier?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce
Neil
it.
Moser. The BC Rich guy. Any relation?
Alex, I have the black and yellow striped Charvel art series of that, and it's a beautiful guitar, and they're really well. And yes, the original black and yellow VH2 Bumblebee was allegedly buried with Daryl Abbott from Pantera. Eddie showed up at his funeral really messed up. He was toasted. And the quote was, Dime was an original, and an original should have an original. And he allegedly buried the original Bumblebee in with Daryl's coffin. Now, I don't know if that actually came to fruition, because a lot of people say, if they put that guitar in the crypt, that would cause a security issue there at the crypt, but who knows?
I know. Let's go be some grave diggers and dig that shit up, right? Guys, a Digitech Trio. So you can get this thing going. It's not a looper pedal, but it'll add a drum loop. It'll add bass. I haven't played with this one yet. I just
So it's like a sampler pedal?
It kind of does that kind of stuff. It'll sample a little drum loop for you. It'll do all kinds of stuff. And it came with the foot switch. So I've got the Digitech Trio.
We're drinking heavily, by the way. You can tell. That's what happens when 50-year-olds hang out on a Friday and drink water. I'm so dehydrated. You know what, Kremet, there's a couple of half scales here now, a couple of acoustics. And he's got it's not a half scale, but it's a smaller bass that I've had my eye on that I haven't bought.
Let me show you a couple.
It's a Fender Urge bass. The Urge was a signature model. We were talking about signature models earlier. Fender Urge bass. It's a signature for Stu Hamm, who is a jazz bass player who also plays with Joe Satriani and Steve Vai on occasion, and is a virtuoso bassist in his own right. Fantastic bass player. But they made this Urge bass for a couple of years, and ZIMM'S got one hanging on the walls, and it's a relatively short scale in comparison to other ones.
Okay, guys, let's talk about this for a minute. Any of you guys into the old Japanese guitars? 1970s kind of stuff? What does that say?
That's a Saujin. Saujin.
Guys ever heard of this, huh?
Saujin.
Old Japanese stuff.
It's basically an SG bass copy. Looks a lot like the SG bass that Gene Simmons played for a while.
You guys into this stuff? Anybody?
Japanese guitars now have got their own cult. There's a cult of Japanese guitars.
That's right. And I'm starting to come across some of these. Look at that. Made in Japan. I don't know if you guys can read that. But yeah.
He's actually got a
Japanese
great
stuff.
Going back to when we were talking about Kramer's earlier. He's got a great Kramer Focus 1000. He's got a Focus 3000 and I think a Focus 6000. All of which are Japanese Kramers made by a little company called Electric Sound Products, or you might have heard of them called ESP. Mm-hmm. ESP was contracted to make all the Japanese Kramers back in the mid-'80s. So the Focus series are all Japanese as well, even though they have the Neptune, New Jersey stamp on the back of them.
I have an ESP guitar. Let me show you this one.
You have an actual ESP? Is it an LTD or an ESP?
It's a Kramer ESP.
Oh, yeah, the Kramer ESP. Yeah, you've got a couple of Kramer ESPs.
This is right here.
That black one on the wall is a Kramer. That red one is a. You've got 3 more of them on the wall.
Right.
This is an ESP. I know it says Kramer on it, but they were contracted out. It's got a real Floyd Rose, the original Floyd Rose. And they were originally contracted out by Kramer, who at the time were dealing with some financial issues. So we're looking for ways to economize their guitar production. So they contracted Electric Sound Products, which was a small parts company in Japan before they became an actual guitar factory. But yeah.
This is the Striker, so I'm pretty sure this is the same builder.
No.
It's not. Okay.
No, Strikers are not ESPs. Strikers are Korean made.
Okay. I put a DiMarzio in this one.
However, I will find you a couple more Japanese ones.
Okay.
That most right now is Japanese.
Yeah, the Focus 1000. They have a Focus 1000. They have a Focus 3000.
Focus 6000.
And the Focus 6000. And I think the 1000s are the more desirable one.
Yes, because they have the single. Usually they have the single pickup configuration like the Berettas.
Mm-hmm.
There is a 3000. There is a 1000.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm just you get these things, they come around, and I love these things. I changed the pickup out in this one to make it a little bit hotter. This does have the old Floyd Rose on it, but this is the model where the string goes into the back of the trem right here. You don't lock it down. You don't cut it and lock it down in there. So not as desirable, but yeah, here's some of the. Thank you, Paul, for digging those up.
If you know people that are into Kramers, and that's a cult of people too. Now, if you know people that are into Kramers, These are all made by ESP. They're all Japanese ESP guitars. This one is not. This is a Striker. But the Focus series, the early Focus series that have
Focus
the numbers
6000.
on them, those are all ESP guitars.
With the toggle switches. Turn each pickup on and off right here.
Yeah, these are great guitars.
Ooh, it's got 9s on it. I love the feel of a 9-gauge string. Alex is asking, where are you two's preferred brands? Okay, he's asking what are our preferred brands and or models? I have too many to list.
Yeah, I like Ernie Ball. Ernie Ball guitars I think are great. It's tough to top of Paul Reed Smith. Paul Reed Smith makes a good guitar. You know, the big ones. I mean, Gibson Quality Control has taken a shit over the years, but hopefully with the new president of the company and their alleged new commitment to quality control, they'll come back around. But if you get a good Gibson, you can't touch it. Japanese guitars, I mean, Steve Vai put Ibanez on the map back in the 80s, and they have made a consistently good guitar for a long time. I wish I could afford a real Gretsch, like one of the old Gretsch hollow bodies. I don't own a hollow body guitar, but for that, you know, hollow body Brian Setzer jazzy sound, can't touch a Gretsch. Those are beautiful sounding guitars. Yeah, I mean, so, you know, most guitars are pretty good. It'd be tough to find. I am not a fan of the Chapmans like Dane is. I don't particularly like Schecter guitars. I don't particularly like Washburn guitars. Outside of the Wolfgang, I'm not a huge Peavey fan. Although Peavey makes great amps, I was never a big fan of their guitars. Oh, this thing is awesome.
Oh boy,
These
look
things
at
are
this.
This is hideous in the best way. That thing is hideous.
This is the Franken Bucket by Fender.
What an ugly guitar. Dean makes a better.
Come on, man.
Alex, Dean makes a better guitar today than they did for a long time. American Deans are great. The Dean Cadillac is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the Dean Cadillac because it's very similar to the Les Paul. It's a Les Paul for nowhere near the money, but it's almost the exact same guitar.
Let me tune this thing up a little bit.
Yeah, Dean, American Deans, old school Deans are great guitars. They went through a lot of quality control issues for a while too, but seem to have come back out of it on the other side the right way.
How these guys doing on questions? Franken acoustic, that's right.
The Kramer shape does look better than a standard Strat because it's cut differently. The Kramer shape body shape that you saw the Focus was made of is basically it's the Pacer Special, which has a little bit thinner upper bout horn, and it's cut in a little bit deeper, a belly cut, a little bit deeper on it. So they're a little thinner, a little sleeker, a little more comfortable than your standard Strat. Not as bulky.
I am a lineman for the county.
Really? So yeah, no.
This one plays great.
No, it does play well. It's hideous looking, but that's the thing. Like those guitars have a cult following as well. I think you have two similar like that. Don't you have another one that's a hideous one?
I got the Dwayne Peters from US Bombs.
Right. Which is kind of ugly too, but in a cool way. Like I'm not saying it's ugly as a negative. I know that word comes across as being a negative, but no, this is hideous in the same way that a rat rod is hideous but beautiful at the same time.
Right. It's kind of rustic already.
It's the Dirty Donnie.
Kind of relict.
It's the Dirty Donnie what this one is, and it is and it's got electronics in it. It's got electronics and so it's electric acoustic, and it's got a built-in tuner and a little bit of EQ. So it's a cool guitar.
Wow, we got 14 people on here. Guys, hit the thumbs up for me. I don't know. I need a little ego boost.
Nicest artist versus the biggest jerk.
Well, here's what I'll say about artists. When you go out to NAMM, I went out to NAMM, and the artists that go to NAMM and participate those are the nice guys. Because if you're one of these artists that don't like people, you definitely don't go to the NAMM show where people are just mobbing you. Oh my God, do a yo-yo trick video for me. So the nicest artists are definitely those guys that you see at NAMM. So we saw Michael Anthony out there, super nice guy. You see Rob Chapman out there, of course, but he's promoting. These guys are promoting. They're there for a reason. They're getting paid. They're promoting their signature models that they have. You see John Petrucci out there. You see Billy Sheehan out there. And so basically all the guys that participate in NAMM, which is the North American Music Merchant Show, those are the nice guys in the business. And as far as the biggest jerks, Paul, you need to answer this one, right? Because Paul interviews guys at his station. He's done just this year. Was Rob Halford this year?
Yeah.
Halford and just yesterday, the guys from Zebra. You did it.
This morning, yeah. Randy Jackson from Zebra came in. We played some Zeppelin music because he's doing a Zeppelin show in town tonight with the Phoenix Symphony Orchestra. Here's what I'll tell you about jerks. I haven't really had a bad experience with anyone. There are some that I think were more interested in being there than others. Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden is one of those where if he's not interested in what you're talking about or in the interview, or if he knows that you're full of shit and you don't know anything about the band, he's not interested in being there. There's a certain level of respect that some of these guys.
He's in the biggest band in the world.
He's in one of the biggest metal bands in the world, and you know. On the other hand, I have heard the legend is that Lars Ulrich is an asshole. Not true. Lars Ulrich is awesome. Every time and I'm not trying to name drop or big time you. I'm just letting you ask the question: who the biggest jerks and the nicest guys are? Lars is actually way better and cooler than he's ever been given credit for. Same thing with Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine gets a bad rap. I've never had that experience with Dave Mustaine. There was this band called Cool for August back in the 90s that the reason why you don't know about them or haven't heard of them speaks for itself. That's all you need to know. But they were kind of assholes.
To be successful in the music business, you have to be a nice person. People are not going to want to work with you.
Gene Simmons is an asshole, but he's honest about it, and I respect that.
Yeah.
So, and Gene Simmons is like pro wrestling. It's a character. Trust me, Gene Simmons knows exactly what he's doing. Steven Tyler is awesome.
That's kind of his gimmick.
What, Gene? Yeah, he plays the villain role. I got to be honest with you, and I'm not saying this just because I'm trying to be like politically correct or anything, because I don't give a rat's ass, but I haven't had a bad experience with a musician. Comedians, on the other hand, I've had horrible experiences with. George Carlin. If the clock isn't running and Carlin isn't being paid to do his thing, he's dead now, obviously, but if he wasn't being paid to do his act, Carlin wasn't interested in being funny. Louis C.K.
This. You're part of a comedy show,
right?
And a comedian shows up, and you're funnier than he is. How's he going to act?
Well, I don't know that I've ever been funnier than George Carlin. There aren't many people that have, but Louis C.K. not really interested in doing the interview when we had him on. Dr. Ferdy Pacheco, who used to be the fight doctor, the guy that was always doing commentary for boxing, not the nicest guy in the world. But musicians, more often than not, if you speak to them on their level and you show them some respect, they respond in kind. This is music business is politics. It's the please love me business. Kevin Dubrow, who is was a notorious asshole, nothing but nice when he was on the radio with us. So, I haven't had the experience that some of the legends of jerk musicians paint them as. I haven't seen much of that at all. Some of them are a little bit more crusty than other of them, like Lemmy. Lemmy, if you get Lemmy on a good day, he was great. If you got Lemmy on a bad day, it wasn't fun. He wasn't an asshole, but it's just if he wasn't in the mood he didn't take shit. He was one of those guys. This is a cool guitar. This is the Epiphone Prophecy Plus. Comes stock with EMGs in it, I think. Yes, and so they're active EMGs. I don't think there's no coil tap on this, but this is about as nice a guitar as Epiphone has ever made. The Epiphone Prophecy Plus, Custom Prophecy Plus, as opposed to the Epiphone Les Paul Custom Black Beauty triple pickup, very similar to what Peter Frampton played.
Yeah.
So. Epiphone limited edition guitars is an interesting thing. I hope I pronounce your name properly. If it's Nick, I'll try to go with Nick. Epiphone limited edition guitars is an interesting concept. Some of them are actually limited edition, not because they put a cap on the number of guitars, but they're made in a factory that has a limited contract. The two best factories that Epiphone makes guitars are Shine. It's spelled S-A-E-I-N, Shine. And the other one is, oh shit, I can't remember it. It'll come back to me. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It'll come back to me. But the number, the consonant on the headstock is I. I forget. It's killing me. Somebody will look it up. Interviewed Yngwie Malmsteen? No. But I've met Yngwie. We just never interviewed. And he was actually pretty nice for that moment. I will tell you, I became friends for a while with Ron Keel, who was the lead singer for the band Keel and was also in Steeler with Yngwie Malmsteen. And I asked Ron about Yngwie and said, hey, Yngwie, what's up with that guy? And this was Ron Keel's answer to me was, man, Yngwie and I are fruits of the same tree. We're just on different branches, whatever that means. But that was sort of the musician answer. Ron Keel said that Yngwie was obviously an artist, and Yngwie's legend is that he's difficult to work with. I don't know. Having met him only once briefly, he was nice, cordial. So I don't have a good story for you. So.
I love that Frampton stuff.
Frampton is a really underrated
thing
guitar player. I like that guitar. It's a good guitar. That was made in the Qingdao factory in China. Shine and what the fuck is the other guitar company?
That's Paul Custom right there.
I'm gonna look it up on my phone because I can't remember it. It's funny too because it's a great. I'm looking this up. I apologize.
Guys, we have 16 people on. Thank you guys so much for being there. And I've gotten 5 thumbs up. I appreciate you guys for that.
Like I said, Shine is S. You're going to see S. There's also the Peerless factory, which is P. But
everybody wants one of these things, huh?
Those are good, yeah. Epiphone makes a good Les Paul copy now. Can't believe I'm looking this up. It's driving me nuts.
Seven thumbs up. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for watching. You know what I'm doing? I have really bad internet service. Hi, Sherry. I have really bad internet provider down here at my store. And so the audio and the video version of this is very weak. I understand that. I got some stuff hooked up at my house. I have a little room in my house that I use as a studio, and I'm barely ever in there. I hardly do anything out of there, but I think I might occasionally experiment with doing a live stream out of my house so that you guys can actually see and hear what is going on.
All right, correction. The S is Samick, actually. Samick Guitars, who makes almost 80% of the guitars that come out of Korea. The I factory number, factory code is for Shine, S-A-E-I-N. And the one I was thinking is Unsung. It's a U. You'll see a U on the back of the headstock. So if you're looking at a Les Paul, an Epiphone Les Paul, and it's made in Korea, and it has an I, an S, or a U on the back of it, that's going to be Korean from Unsung or Shine or Peerless or Samick. And those are the factories that you want to consider buying. So when you're getting back to the original point of the question, which was limited edition guitars, Epiphone guitars, are limited usually because it was a factory that was contracted to make it, or it's an artist run and they can only set the dies on the CNC machines to those specs for a day or two, and they pump them out that way.
Come on, guys, give us some questions.
Video on the most expensive guitar and amp in the store. Most expensive guitar is probably that V.
Yeah, that Gibson.
The Gibson, because I don't know what you have it priced at, but I'm guessing that's the most expensive one in the guitar.
It's somewhere around $1,000.
All right, so there you go. So somewhere around $1,000 for a Flying V, Gibson Flying V. That's going to be the most expensive guitar in the shop, and I'm thinking the most expensive amp is.
It's probably that Rivera over in the corner there.
Oh, the Rivera. What's that go for?
14.
All right, Rivera tube amp.
Okay. So he's referring to my video that I did on the cheapest amp that I have at the store. And this amp is $20. How cool is that?
Gerald, it's not an actual Frampton signature Les Paul, but it's the same guitar. It's the same thing that you're going to get the Frampton. It's a triple pickup Les Paul Black Beauty. Just doesn't have Frampton's name on the headstock.
Yeah.
Same guitar.
So this thing has this little piece that comes with it. And you can just hang this thing right here. And it's actually on a couple of 9-volt batteries. I did a video about this, and for one of the comments, like a little camping, take this thing camping. Look at that. When it plugs in, the power light comes on.
Oh, it's a pig nose, like a pig nose.
Yeah. And so how cool is this thing?
Peavey.
$20. Here's what I'm going to do, guys.
It's a $20 amp.
I'm going to do another giveaway. Are you guys ready? I gave away a guitar a couple of weeks ago.
Did you give that one away? Did somebody come down and get it?
Yeah, somebody came and said, hey, I want that free guitar. Here's what I'm going to do, guys.
Nice.
If you come in my shop this
not
weekend.
In the shop. Not in the shop.
Yeah, you got to come down here. You come down here tomorrow because I'm not going to be in on I have a band rehearsal on Sunday. If you come down here tomorrow and say, hey, did you give away the Peavey Decade amp yet? If I still have it, I'm giving this thing away. So who wants it?
It's a door prize. It's a $20 door prize.
That's right. Come
Shit,
and
man.
get it, but
20 bucks
only
for an
tomorrow.
How many watts is that thing?
I'm going to guess it is 10 watts at 4 ohms. It's a little monster. This is what was in that video that I did a couple of days ago. The cheapest amp in my store. One of the comments was this amp will be around long after we're all dead. Because this thing ain't going nowhere. This is solid built USA kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, Peavey makes a good amp. Has always made a good.
This is our giveaway right here.
Inexpensive but good. They last forever, and you can beat the snot out of them. And most people do. And the Tolex on them, the Tolex on them is not like the thin Tolex that you get on a Marshall, where it's like a sheet stuck to a piece of wood. The Tolex on it is like sprayed on, like bed liner, like Rhino bed liner. Are we doing the guitar thing again, the Van Halen guitar thing again?
Now it's always good. We look good holding guitars.
Ah.
Oh, Alex is going to make the trip from Kansas. Dude, get on that plane right now. Hurry up.
Alex, where in Kansas are you? I lived in Overland Park.
My girlfriend, Sherry, how are you, honey? It's cool that JJ's watching. Hi, Jolene. A little 3-year-old, 2-year-old.
What was the other? There was a question.
Campfire amp.
Yeah, that's what that is. That 20 amp is.
Some guys going, wow. He's really into the Peavey amp. I'll just say that. Okay, guys. So we're going to wrap it up here for today. We'll do one more question. Somebody give us a good one. Come on now. One more question. We're going to wrap it up. We've been on for going on an hour. It's way too long for us to sit here and not do business.
Thoughts on Chipsons?
Thoughts on Chipsons?
Chipsons are obviously it's a pirated guitar. You know, somebody in the store asked about Chipsons. I'm not a fan of pirated guitars, but having said that, I just had somebody paint my guitar like the old Eddie Van Halen. So, and that's a trademark paint job. So, if you know what you're getting, and you know you're not pawning it off like it's supposed to be a real Gibson,
Can't try to sell it.
do whatever you want. I mean, if you buy one, great.
Play it.
It's a $300 guitar for a reason.
Right.
You know what you're getting. More often than not, those bodies are plywood. The neck joints aren't great. The hardware on them tends to be as cheap can be. But if you want something that you can use as a like a base, a skeleton to put real pickups in, you know what I mean, and then take to a club, because let's face it, who wants to take the Gibson Les Paul Custom Black Beauty right now, the brand new one, the black one with the 3 gold covered pickups in it, is $8,000. You're gonna take an $8,000 guitar to a club? I think not. So unless you're in a touring band and you can afford to take an $8,000 guitar out on stage every night and possibly have it get screwed up, if you want to buy a Chipson and put real Duncans in it or DiMarzios or whatever your pickup of choice is, go buy some old 490s or whatever.
But if it was me playing in a band, I wouldn't take a Chipson out to the club.
No, here's what I would do. Honestly, a Chipson is what, $300, $400 new?
Yeah.
Dane has a $400, $300, $400 Kramer made by ESP guitar that's going to last you, and you'll get your money back out of it. Whereas if you buy a Chipson, it's not even worth the $300 you paid for it the minute you take it out of the box.
Paul, what about Firefly guitars? I see a couple of videos about them. I think they're very inexpensive guitars. You know, I've never had one in my lap. I've never seen a Firefly guitar.
I don't know.
I think you can get them. I might be wrong. I think you can get them on eBay and Amazon and stuff, and they're very inexpensive stuff. So they're probably very similar to sort of Chipsons, I would guess.
I don't know anything about them.
Do you have any Kramer Night Swans in the shop? No, I do not. I had a Buddy Blaze Dean, but I sold it on Reverb only maybe a month ago or 3 weeks ago. You have something that looks like a Night Swan though over there. I think it's a Jackson. It's got that sort of same, almost Akira Takasaki, star shape to it. Right. Kind of like a Jackson Kelly a little bit, but a little more off on the angles. All right, you guys, we be gone. We're out of here like last night's newspaper. Brilliant. That was a good way to end right there. Always leave them wanting more. We'll see if I can get NeanderPaul back sometime. Again, KSLX in Phoenix, Arizona. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye, everybody. Bye, Sherry.
I was looking